If you don't like it, hope you stub your toe.
What's up, weirdos? Welcome to Fun and Bummer, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the just fine. My name is Carson, and today, due to some personal things that had come up, I will be flying solo. Theron will be back next week, so we'll be doing like our MCU ranking another time, but the next episode should be the Captain America Brave New World review. So be sure to be on the lookout for that when that drops next Tuesday. But today we are going to be talking about some trailers that have come out recently that we hadn't really gotten to talk too much about. There were some that dropped before the Super Bowl, and then there were a couple that dropped during the Super Bowl. A surprisingly small number of trailers. I was kind of shocked. That's usually the thing, is the commercials and the trailers. But it's okay. We got a good Kendrick Lamar concert with a little bit of football surrounding it. But first, to get the one of them out of the way, there was a Mission Impossible, the Final Reckoning trailer. It's pretty much like, I really enjoy the Mission Impossible movies, but it was kind of one of those, like, if you've seen the other ones, then it's that, but the last one, in theory. I will not be surprised if they end up making another one at some point, or even just reboot it, but without Tom Cruise, or like he passes the torch in some form or fashion. There was one of them, I think it was Ghost Protocol, that he had somewhat tried passing the torch to Jeremy Renner. He was becoming a huge action star at the time, and so they had attempted to, seemingly they were attempting to have him kind of take over as the new main guy for the Mission Impossible series, but it didn't quite take. But yeah, no. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they, after this one, try to reboot at some point. We'll see. Yeah, no, looks good. I'll more than likely be checking it out and giving it a review at some point whenever that comes out. Same goes for Jurassic World. They had dropped a trailer. Yeah, I did. There's not, unfortunately, a whole lot to talk about for this one either. It's kind of in the same vein as the Mission Impossible one, that it's like, if you've seen the Jurassic movies, then it looks like it's pretty much that. They keep emphasizing that it's this new era, and I was like, but how? It looks literally exactly just like the other Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies. But nonetheless, I am excited. It's got Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey in it. I'm absolutely going to check it out. I also did not realize that that Mahershala Ali was in this until I saw him in the trailer. And so that's really exciting. They got a pretty stacked cast, and so I'm excited for that. As we discussed with our top 5 and bottom 5 lists for this year, Theron is not so much excited about it, but I am still at least cautiously optimistic about it. It doesn't look like it's going to be bad. So the trailer did its job on that front, but we shall see. I've heard this one is also supposed to lean more into the horror aspects of it. There's supposed to be scenes straight out of the novel, if people have read it, that they should recognize. Supposedly, that is what I've heard, at least. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, No, both of those look good, but they look exactly like just yeah, the other movies, it's that again. Um and then the one that I am once again just kind of not sure how I'm supposed to feel. Uh but How to Train Your Dragon got another little trailer, not too awful much added or new footage or anything, but we got to actually listen to Hiccup talk a little bit, and as well as Astrid, and just some more shots. But the thing about the new footage is that it looks exactly like the original movie. And as Darren and I discussed, it feels very lose lose in that if you change anything, then people are going to be mad. But if you do it exactly the same, then it feels just very pointless. And I'm not mad because I love the original. And so it's like, yeah, do that. But like, I don't know. I really don't get, I just really don't get the point of it. Again, as I've said to anybody that I talk to about it, I understand that it's about the money. I get that that is the main point, but it just I don't know. I don't know. If you're excited about it, great. If not, then I get it. I will more than likely be seeing it with my fiance, so we shall see, and we may even bring the kids along. Who knows? But yeah, another one, another one that unfortunately not a whole awful lot to really talk about. I felt. Um, I think Astrid and Hiccup look great. I think it looks great. It is if you take it as a positive, then it looks exactly like the original, just come to life. And so that's um, if they're gonna do it, they're at least making it look good. So uh, yeah, for the first three, unfortunately, not a whole lot to talk about, but they at least dropped some trailers. They look good. And yeah, so if you're excited about those movies, then I think that all of the trailers, if nothing else, I think that they should make you more excited if especially if you were already excited for each one. That is for you to decide. Go check them out. They're all on YouTube to check out. Also, side note with that, I will go ahead and say now that it was mainly for the Thunderbolts trailer, which I guess we can talk about next. But they did it for that, and I, I don't believe they did it for uh, the other three trailers that I just talked about. But they did the thing where instead of just showing the trailer, they say like, "Oh, the trailer is available online now," and they only show like a little like few seconds of it. Just show the trailer. The whole point of showing trailers during the Super Bowl is to show the trailer, not to tell people to go look it up on their phones. Anyway, yeah, so Thunderbolts Asterix got another trailer. This one, I I was already sold just off of the first trailer. This one really, really got me excited. I love the vibes that they're going for. They even directly address what myself and I have heard, and what I've heard other people have as the same complaint, that this team is all just a bunch of people that punches and shoots guns. They directly address that, and uh, seemingly there is going to be some type of moment where we realize why this team needs to go after this threat. And it really just, I don't know, it just felt very, I don't even know how to put it. it really rejuvenated a feeling that I used to have with the Avengers in terms of the team dynamic. Um, so for one thing, they are not showing Taskmaster at all. Like, she is not getting a whole lot of play in the trailer. So it seems very much like she's probably going to get killed off pretty early if I had to guess. Um, like maybe have one action scene with her and then that might be it. That is the general vibe that I'm getting because she's in none of the heartwarming scenes or anything. But uh anyway, aside from that, I so in Age of Ultron especially, one of the things that I love about that one, I know not a lot of people enjoy it. But spoiler for whenever we get to do our MC ranking episode, I really enjoy Avengers Age of Ultron. And one of my favorite parts of that movie is when they're in Avengers Tower just hanging out. I love when they're just hanging out together and just being people. They feel more like a team and like actual people and a family at that point. And that is when I truly felt like when they get to Civil War and they all break up. That's the type of moment that I think back to in terms of like, oh my God, this was my team. Like they were all together and they were so close and they were such a good family. And I hadn't necessarily felt that since then. And this trailer for Thunderbolts kind of gave me that same feeling. Um, they didn't even necessarily do anything super big by any means in terms of like they didn't necessarily just show like a big monologue or anything like that or just them hanging out, but just the general vibes and the different like some of the dialogue that they share together and just I don't know, there's something about showing like Bucky and Red Guardian just laughing together and stuff like that, or John Walker just being over it. And they really drive home that that family dynamic, and I really appreciated that. Especially for the fact that half of these characters haven't really gotten to interact with each other. Um, Only a couple of them have some type of connection to each other, but yeah, no, I'm just really excited. And the villain, I'm very interested after this trailer seeing how they pull it off in terms of not just how they defeat the villain, but how they make it believable that this this group even could defeat the villain. Some of the things that they show, so the villain is referred to as the Void. I don't want to spoil too much in terms of how that villain works or who they are in terms of like the cast or anything like that. I don't necessarily want to give too much away because they are not a very well-known character outside of the comic books. So I won't say too awful much, but in terms of just what they show in the trailer, I just know that there is going to be some moment where it's like, well, why didn't they just kill them immediately? I'm very interested to see how they if they even try to make it, you know, if they even try to address that. Yeah, no, as I've said before, Bucky and Yelena, I think, are my favorite current MCU mainstays, and I'm very excited to see them interact with each other and just where this goes from here. I'm interested to see what the asterisk ends up meaning. As I've said before, I have my own theories. It's just a theory, so it's not really a spoiler. But this team more so seems to reflect the Dark Avengers from the comic books, to where the whole idea is to put together a. They've been done a couple of different times, but the idea between the Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers can sometimes go hand in hand. But the general idea of trying to sort of replace the Avengers and having these kind of not necessarily doppelgangers, but a fill-in spot. So, for instance, instead of getting a Hulk, you would get Abomination, or instead of Captain America, you get U.S. Agent John Walker, or instead of Black Widow, you get Yelena, the a different Black Widow, so on and so forth. And then, like, instead of Hawkeye, you get Taskmaster with a bow and arrow. That type of idea, that you get these people that the general public is going to recognize as, like, oh yeah, they're sort of the Avengers that I know, but they're not. They're not them. They're not them. But they seem to be somewhat alluding to that being the idea. Um, at the beginning of the trailer, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Val, is sort of alluding to the idea that this team is supposed to be her own makeshift Avengers. And they essentially confirm that they now have Avengers Tower, and so I guess Val was who purchased it. Seemingly, we can guess, but my theory, and I could be very wrong. It may not time out well. Um, I said previously that I would love for the voice actor of Norman Osborn in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon to play him in live action. Um, I forget the actor's name right now, but he has also said publicly that he would love to play him in live action. Um, I don't. He may. I would love it if the asterisk is supposed to be that the title changes to Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts purchased by Norman Osborn or something to that effect, and we show Norman Osborn at the end of the movie, and that it's like, oh, he's the one that's been running the whole thing. I would love that. I think that would be very fun. Um, in terms of what this is going to mean after Avengers Doomsday and not Infinity War, Secret Wars, who's to say? Because they very well might be just resetting the universe after those movies, but uh, who's to say? We'll see where it goes. But for now, I am very excited for Thunderbolts. And then the other trailer, the last one that I'm going to be talking about today is the Fantastic Four First Steps trailer. This one came out before the Super Bowl, and so it's had some time, but they had shown it again. And I'm just, oh my God, this one filled me with so much hope. I was previously, as I had said, more so cautiously optimistic about this movie. I am more just openly excited about this one after seeing the trailer and getting the like retro 60s aesthetic and vibes that they're going for, and just they just it sounds cliche or whatever to say at this point, but this one really sold me on the idea that they just understand who these characters are as the Fantastic Four. Um, showing without and really with just a few words that and a few shots that Reed carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, but he still feels like a fatherly figure to everybody, and he's just trying to hold it together. And then Ben, like, starting off with, I think it's a very interesting choice to not have him with a gravelly voice and like up the thing, like, not doing that. I think it's a very humanizing decision to just give him his normal voice. I think it's also fun that they start off with having him cook. That's also just a very everyman thing, but it's also, you know, uh referencing those that have watched The Bear, it's pretty famous role for him at this point, and so that was pretty fun. And then just little moments of Johnny wanting to go on adventures, like just alluding to that idea, and that, he's the cool, funny guy. And then I think it was also insanely smart to have Sue, the Invisible Woman, be the not necessarily main character, but the sort of the audience's way in. I think that that was a very smart decision. I think she's the hardest character to just get right out of that bunch. Say what you will about him, but I really enjoyed the 2000s Fantastic Four movies. They're very cheesy and just, you know, very early 2000s comic book movie, but I've got nostalgia for them, and I just appreciate them for what they are. But I think for what they were going for, they did those versions of those characters as well as they could. But Sue, I think, definitely got the lesser end of the deal, and she never really got to be just the mother of the group. They had her more so be like the nagging older sister of the group. She never really felt like the mom, where in this she felt like the mother of the group, very tender and caring and understanding, and just the glue holding them all together. And they sold me on that idea within just a couple of minutes. And there's only a few moments to where they're all together, but I still was completely sold on the family dynamic. They are referred to as Marvel's first family, and so I talked about the family dynamic of Thunderbolts before. That one had the very dysfunctional family dynamic going, but if you are going to have just if you are going to have a Fantastic Four movie, they have to feel like a family. And as Vin Diesel family as it could possibly be. And I feel like they nailed that in this trailer. I love the little sneak peek at Galactus that we got. Not too awful much, just enough. And I think the Thing looks great. And he is one of those that, like, the Beast on X-Men Beast. Uh, he's one of the. I've had this conversation with a few of my friends that I think I prefer him like in a practical suit, but I still understand why they CGI him, but I think he looks a lot better practically. And usually I prefer practical suits. You will hear me say that plenty, especially when it comes to the Spider-Man stuff. Um, but don't get me started on that. Anyway, I usually prefer the practical suits and stuff. I think Michael Chiklis in the Thing costume in the 2000s Fantastic Four, I think that looked as good as it could for the time. But I think this may be one of the few times, much like the Hulk, that you kind of need to CGI him, and I think they made the right decision there. I think he looks as close to perfect as he possibly could, and yeah, I'm still very interested to see how Pedro Pascal plays Reed. He was nowhere close to my first pick, to be perfectly honest, but he's an excellent actor, and I love him in every single thing I see him in. And I very much understand why we have not seen him stretch in the trailer as well. I think that that is just something cool to say for the movie. They also might still be finishing up those effects, because that is a superpower that is just very hard to translate into live action and it not look goofy. And so I think they might be holding off on that to make sure that it looks as good as possible when we finally see it. But other than that, not a whole lot else I think to cover. We also didn't see Silver Surfer. I think that's good. I'm glad that we didn't just see every single thing in this. We saw just enough to have some hope that, like, oh my gosh, they're finally gonna make a good Fantastic Four movie. But then not too much that we just saw the entire movie. Still no idea what the story is, but that's what watching the movie's for. And yeah, I think that that'll about do it. Hope I know it was a pretty short one and didn't necessarily have too awful much insight on a few of them, but hopefully, y'all still enjoyed it. And Theron, once again, will be back next week, and we will have plenty of thoughts. I just know about the new Captain America movie, so be sure to go check that out as well when it comes out, as well as our review when that drops. Hope y'all enjoyed it. We will see y'all next time.